with their dogs, okay? High level of change with high drive dogs. But here's the thing. Based on what this represents by way of learning, how they're applying it even through play-based, certain individuals adopting, okay, this idea of things, okay, based again on their personality type and what this represents to them, is going to put them in a really bad position, okay? And then at a response level, these trainers won't even understand or know that people are failing around them because their whole criteria is based on just on responses in a very superficial way. This is why I put out the question that none of these trainers can answer or will answer is, what is the criteria these trainers are using to establish that the perceptions of dogs are changing the way they think they're changing the right way within the superficial framework of response. Like, what's the criteria? And that question, right, should be answered. Well, guess what? They can't answer it because this is their criteria, okay? It doesn't have depth. It doesn't bring in those core ingredients. And they're just basically saying, well, just trust what you see. Just like the, so-called professional coming into your home, engaging that way with, say, your selfish child, just, here, pick up your toys, here's a brand new Xbox game. And then a parent saying, well, is that it? Oh, just trust what you see. It looks good, right? And walking out like leaving the scene of a crime. That's what's going on here. That's why these trainers get all upset because it's, right, ask the question, like let's establish this because, we're having a lot of dogs here that are, ending up in shelters and people are getting blindsided and all these bad things are happening after cycling through all that. Like, is it really the dog's fault? See, this is how dysfunctional this has gotten. So this has become normalized, not normal at all. This is what's happened, okay? Because when you get this many trainers doing this, then it seems like this is okay. And then when someone like me steps forward, okay, the whole dog training community is going to be, triggered and outraged. Like, how dare he? Well, no, I'm saying I'm just lining this up. I'm just the messenger. So let's get back to, because we're going to get into this thing about controlled influence but you have to understand what's going on here. So when these trainers come in to look at what I'm doing, they're going to go crazy, right? Because it's all superficial, right? There's no depth. So even I say about being able to reconcile the responses of dogs to the relationship, right? Being able to reconcile the response of dogs to the relationship, they can't do that, okay? They will label things as abuse. They'll go crazy because, again, when you're in this we're talking about this power play situation because that's where you have to go in this type of conversation you're having, right? They get upset. This is where you'll see elements, say, the dog daddy, right? He power plays it. Cesar Millan power plays. I talk about videos about that. But again, this is important. It's the right conversation needs to happen, okay? It's like, talk about the conversation. Conversation means the interactions themselves. They need to speak the right language. They need to join up the right way for the dog to understand intent, okay? And clarity is one of the big themes too. Is like, we'll talk about this too. It's got to be clear. That's why when you see certain interactions, even with balanced dog trainers, I put the videos out, and you'll see it in one of my videos with Kaiser. Okay, a moment where a trainer is petting on the dog a little, or just the hands moving a certain way, and the dog is under a certain level of control, the dog will trigger that dog off to have an aggressive moment. It's like, what happened? Okay, that clarity issue is really important because, you get these 1 percentile dogs or dogs hit that aggressive level, everything is like, you have to be secure in just like the right parenting style, okay? You start to bounce back and forth, okay? It'll set things in motion, which aren't good. So here, this is where I get into about context. Understand that these trainers are taking things out of context because we get into this thing about agreeableness, certain concepts such as counter conditioning, okay? Same thing here. They're applying this concept in a very superficial way, creating an association, right? Dog that's already gained level of control. So they're engaging in the themes of bribery, because at this point, that's what it is. Accommodation. And negotiation. Bribery, accommodation, negotiation. So therefore, this is where you get this whole thing of taking agreeableness out of context, okay, by way of certain concepts, how they're applied through this idea of things where those two core ingredients are missing. Okay, so yes, you'll create different associations, so the dog will be agreeable to a certain person by way of using treats, but you haven't fixed the relationship. Okay, think about a selfish child. It's like saying, hey, a child is very disagreeable, maybe to sharing with their peers, but the parents saying, hey, if you get along with this group of individuals for a half an hour, we'll go out for an ice cream. Okay, sure, like this shit. So, but they're taking that, so they're taking certain themes, they're applying them, and they're trying to paint a wide brush and say, oh, look, this works, right? But pay attention, you start to, this is where we watch my videos, and you'll see, okay, how I'm interacting with dogs with those two core ingredients, as part of the equation. You're seeing a real picture, okay? You're seeing the relationship being put to the test properly, okay? With other trainers, okay, you're not seeing that, okay? This is why certain concepts are problematic, because you'll keep reapplying them, and nothing seems, it's not, yes, it seems like it is working, but the dog is still aggressive or bad things are happening, because the truth will always be, understand the truth will always be there, okay? Always, like everything. So here, getting back to, again, we're gonna do several parts here, so I'm not gonna be able to complete the whole thing. So again, these themes are emotion. This is why certain concepts are problematic, because again, when I'm doing, say, building bridges through socialization, you'll see those core ingredients part of the interaction itself, okay? So going back here, okay, moving over, okay, to this side, think about this system of training. It is relationship focused, okay, but it focuses on differently in terms of the role of the owner, okay, just like the role of a parent, okay, it's social. So the motivator, and this is what blows people's minds, the motivator is the relationship itself, okay, it's at the social level. It's the dog's desire to connect at that level. And so dogs are pack animals. But again, the focus here is not on motivating dogs that way, in a superficial way, okay? Because you can work off the relationship as a motivator, but still the wrong way, okay? Through a dog already gaining control. So the dog says, sure, I'll do A, B, and C to get to D. You have to be very aware of the problems here. So here we need to make sure that influence and control now, because those are going to be your agents of change, okay, are brought in, reconciled the right way through, now we're going to connect with a interaction-based method, okay, that's going to bring it to a power play level. And when I say power play, it means the type of power play, the way you want to see this, is the same type of power play as a child become very selfish, and now the parent is in their airspace differently. Like, where you're going, who are you hanging out with? They're in their bedroom, like they're starting to bring structure. You can't go over to play at your friend's house, video games. So all those things come together, right? The parental role. This is where I talk about parental influence, the way you want to define, you talk about discipline and punishment, all these different terms I use in dog training world. Think it through your role, okay? It's influence defined through a process, okay? So it's not about just, getting over-invested in certain moments. That's why you won't see me, putting dogs into certain positions, the alpha role in certain things. So even here, when I'm applying the method, when I'm actually interacting with dogs, and this gets into this issue about, one of the things I didn't write on the board yet is the stress on dogs. Okay, understand there's a stress load that comes on to dogs right away. As soon as they start to gain control in a relationship, the stress load starts to come onto that dog. It's no different than a child that's very young and the parent's permissive and the child's not finding comfort in the right parenting style. Okay, so they got freedom, but you're not ready for that. Okay, so by here, you see with the stress loads on dogs, you'll see dogs that have gained a higher level of control, they're already stressed, especially when you bring them into, and this is where you get into this thing about bringing them into your world. Because just like some people say, well, there's no such thing as force-free training. That's true, because influence and control are part of the relationship itself. Okay, you're controlling that dog to a certain level through your environment. But what that'll do is that puts that dog in a really bad position if you're not, okay, aligned the right way, just like your parenting style, through leadership and through those core ingredients. If those things aren't reconciled, those stress loads aren't going to go away. Okay, this gets into this cycle of these dogs that continue to be reactive. Because the stress load isn't going to be lifted. The only way it can be lifted, okay, is be reconciled through, the right process. So this is where, again, it goes into a power play level. Okay, not meant to be like the dog daddy, like type of power play. Caesar Milan, you see the power play happening. So, because it's a type of conversation. It's like the child not liking, the way you want to see the power play, the challenge level, the not liking level. It's like a child saying, I don't like the fact my parent is now moving into a different parenting style. They're putting demand on me, certain expectations. Don't like it. So it's the same type of thing happening here. When you start to engage influence and control coming in an intentional way, they're aligning, okay, through how you're interacting. This gets into this issue about intent. We'll go there too, because there's a lot to cover here, okay? But intent means a dog understands intent. So for example, if I'm moving, you see me with the leash, if I'm moving a certain way, how I'm moving and how much influence is coming through that leash and through that collar, that dog understands what I want, okay, where I want that dog to go. Okay, everything funnels, okay? So understand there is learning happening, okay, in a way. The dog's learning what I want. There's a certain, because the intent part of that is funneling, is happening through how I'm moving. And so I'm not moving, putting so much authority and so much control of the dog. You see how I'm doing. What I'm doing is the principle here is just like the tug of war team that, if you ever watch the tug of war team engaging back and forth, you'll see one team start to kind of buckle a little bit and their whole team's about to collapse. So what I'm doing here through the level of, control and influence happening, control, is I'm bringing the dog's state of mind to a point of acceptance, agreeableness, okay? So it's like, and you see, in fact, some of the videos, you see the dog's head shake a little bit, and then the dog moves forward and comes into full agreement, okay? So